Will Coventry City actually be relegated? That's what we're going to discuss in today's video, guys. Welcome along to another one. As ever, drop a like, subscribe, get your comments and thoughts down below. And we're just reflecting on not just the Coventry-Birmingham game from the weekend, but Coventry's first segment of the season, because it's been dramatic to say the least. Let's get the table up for you first, guys, and show you what's actually going on. So Coventry City are bottom. And a conversation I'm having with plenty of other Coventry fans is, will we stay bottom? When will we get a move on, or won't we? It's quite interesting at this point because Coventry have got games in hand, but you can't say that is why we've had a bad start. Regardless of those games in hand, Coventry City have been poor. The table's very interesting after 7, 8, 9, 10 games, however many games you're on, and not many people would have put Coventry bottom, especially after the season we had last year. Obviously, we'll get into why we're bottom in just a second, but there's some surprising teams down there. West Bromwich Albion, Middlesbrough, Huddersfield and Coventry, all playoff chasers last year. Huddersfield finished third. It's going to be interesting this season, but we'll get into why Coventry are bottom now. Let's run through Coventry's 7 games then. Obviously, we've had quite a few home games being postponed, obviously due to the pitch issues. We started 1-1 at Sunderland. Now, for me, the Sunderland game was quite an exciting one. First game of the season after a really positive season last year. I was actually quite pleased to get out of there with a 1-1. And the XG, which is just below the scoreline, suggests Coventry slightly edged it. Maybe some slightly more dangerous chances, if that makes sense, but very close nonetheless, and I think that was a fair scoreline. I think, to be fair, I watched that game. I thought it was a game of two halves. Sunderland came out the traps flying. Coventry City came back strong in the second half. It was a decent point. Here's the issue. A whole lot of defeats. Millwall were next. We went 2-0 up at the Den. We created some good chances, but God, the problem was defensively. Moore, just like in the Sunderland game, come flying out and didn't collect a ball. Hamer got sent off and we lost, having led 2-0. The Millwall defeat was really bad. It wasn't as bad as how I'm feeling right now at that point because it was only 2 games and it was our first defeat. Things have got a whole lot worse since then. It was followed by another 3-2 defeat, this time at Hull City, where we looked a bit more dangerous than we did at Millwall. We created an even higher XG. We did obviously score a penalty through Matty Godden. Matty Godden got both goals in this game. Goodness me. Defensively, once again, the issue. All 3 goals. It was a hat-trick for Estupiñán, and I tell you what, we gifted him that hat-trick. Fair play to him being in the right place at the right time. But God, the defending was so bad. It just bounced off him every time, and maybe a draw could have been fair for that one, but I don't know. I wasn't feeling it after that. The first home game did roll around, and it was Preston. Not the most ideal first home game, a Tuesday night, not really able to fill the stadium as much. Preston, a bit of a bogey team. We were bottom coming into this, and we did lose. Yes, we hit the woodwork a couple of times, but even the XG on this game suggests Preston's chances were more dangerous, and they pinched it 1-0. Maybe Coventry could have got out with a draw. Would that have been a fair result? Maybe, but it looks like Preston did just have the better of that one. The Norwich game for me was always going to be a free hit. The XG and the chances and everything suggests they should have won. Yes, we stuck the ball in the back of the net and it was disallowed, but regardless, we were just cut open like a cake. For the 3rd time in a row on the road, we conceded 3. Obviously, then we had another game postponed, the West Bromwich Albion one, obviously with the Queen's passing, and we came back with 2 away games. Now, this is maybe where some Coventry fans can start to see some slight improvement, but God, it's tiny at this point. We're still without a win. The Luton game, for me, is the best point so far this season, because Luton was up ground. We lost 5-0 at last season, and we came from behind twice. The XG is fairly balanced on that, so we created quite well. Defensively, we still were a bit vulnerable again, but maybe a draw was a fair result. Okay, they could have had a penalty late on, but we've had some decisions go against us over the last couple of games, so maybe things balance themselves out there. The Birmingham draw wasn't a great game, but it's a point, isn't it? And I suppose when you're struggling for rhythm at this point, you maybe just take a draw. Birmingham, in my opinion, aren't anything too special. I don't know if they'll go down necessarily, but in the second half, they could have won it, to be fair. I think Coventry maybe edged the first half. Birmingham certainly the more dangerous side in the second. And like I say, this is what it's done to the table. Coventry City sat 24th. Yes, we've got games in hand, but we can't keep using that as an excuse to be bottom. Coventry City cannot keep saying we've got games in hand, and that is why it's fine, because it isn't fine. Let's look at the XG. This is something I always look into, expected goals, and after 7 games, we can maybe measure this. I know most of our games have been away, but we can look at our expected goals and see if that's something we can look to towards the next few games and say maybe we can improve. We're looking good. We'll have a look. So expected goals at the top, we are 7th in the league, which is actually quite a good return, averaging 1.58 should be scored per game. So we're creating some decent chances. At home, we're ranked 11th. Obviously, we've only had 1 home game, so it's a bit of a false position, perhaps. I don't know. We'll wait and see when we play more home games. But on the road, the 5th most dangerous side going forward. So that is quite encouraging. This is the problem, and I've said it. I don't think scoring goals is the problem. It's defensively, and teams are creating lots of chances against us. XG against, we're the 5th worst, so we're the 5th leakiest defence when it comes to conceding chances, not goals, chances, and usually, obviously, good chances lead to goals. 5th worst at home, and 12th worst on the road. So it's not great. I think it's reassuring we are able to score goals. But I suppose with this Birmingham game, what I thought from this one was, okay, we got a clean sheet, but we had to kind of sacrifice our attacking threat just to get a clean sheet. So we can't seem to get that balance right. We either score and we concede in return, or if we're looking for a clean sheet, we sacrifice a lot of what we've got going forwards, and we therefore still don't come away with the win. Let's have a look at Coventry City's fixtures. Obviously, it's an international break, so a time to reflect. I think the key word for October is rhythm. We've now got 8 games. God forbid any of them get called off. We should be able to get stuck in. Let's go through them. Middlesbrough at home. Now, Middlesbrough in the table, we said are down there. They're a team I expect to get a move on. They might not have as good a season as I expected at the start, but God, this is a poor start from them. We've got to go for the win. If we draw, okay, it's not a disaster, but we're starting to get cut adrift, so we need to get that first win soon. Bristol City away on a Tuesday night is not easy. They're looking much better this season. Burnley at home is another tough one. They're looking quite good. Cardiff away, that's quite tricky. We've lost there in the last 2 seasons. Sheffield United at home, well, they're top of the league. Stoke City away, they're sort of mid-table, aren't they? We could get something there. Rotherham at home, they're certainly doing better than people expected this season. Blackpool at home, could be potential to get something there. And we'll quickly dive into November because these are the last few games before the World Cup. Blackburn at home, Watford away, Wigan at home, QPR at home. So plenty of home games and plenty of games in general. So the word there, rhythm. Let's really get a few games going. Once we get that first win, it could bounce right onto the second win. I don't think it'll take another 7 games for us to get our first win. I think it is going to come, who knows how long, and if it'll be a win in the middle of a bad run. We need a good run to start. It's worth looking at the history of this. After 7 games last season, Coventry City were 4th. We actually got 3 points after 1 game last season. It's taken us 7 to get to 3 points this season. One thing worth looking at, obviously without Derby County's point deduction, Nottingham Forest would have been bottom after 7 games last year. Now Nottingham Forest went on to finish 4th. They did incredible. Could we follow in their footsteps? The season before though, after 7 games, Wycombe Wanderers were bottom. They picked up no points and they went down. They went down in 20 seconds. So look, it's so early that a lot could change. Coventry City could still go up this season. Coventry City could certainly still go down this season. But it is interesting, these first 7 games, because points are important at the start of the season, just as much as they're important in April and May. One thing I'm hearing people saying is, because we're behind a few games, we're in a false position. One thing I will show you is the table after 7 games. So when everyone else this season was on 7 games, we still would have been bottom. You can see we'd only played 4 then, but obviously now we've played 7 and we're on 3 points. We'd still be bottom. So look, we've got games in hand if we go back to the current table, but we have to win all 3 just to get out of the bottom 3. If we win 2 and lose 1, which is a pretty good return, we'd still be in the bottom 3. We'd be on 9 points. So the pressure is on in a way. We've got plenty of time to turn it around, and Robbins is a well-respected manager. It's not like he's going to be under heaps of pressure just yet, but if it continues to take us a bit of time to get that first win, things could get interesting. Looking at the squad when we come back for October very briefly, obviously Hamer is now suspended. God, I don't know what to say. His disciplinary record is just getting worse. O'Hare looks to be returning. Kelly, Rose, I'll be looking forward to seeing those players come back. Must say, trying to pick some positives from the Birmingham game and the Luton game. Panzo, Fads and Doyle, not a bad back three. And I think one thing that's always a problem, and it tends to be seen at relegation battling clubs, is when you're not sure who your first choice goalkeeper is. Having a goalkeeper dilemma is a massive problem. I've always preferred Simon Moore, I'll be honest, but in recent games, I'm starting to favour Ben Wilson. It's not the best position to be in, but he did get a clean sheet. I think he came out as Coventry's best player for player ratings against Birmingham, so there's a couple of positives. But we need to get moving, and we need to get moving fast, because we've got a lot of games coming in October, and if we don't pick up many wins, we could remain in the bottom three going into the big break when the World Cup rolls around. As I say, guys, get your thoughts in. Do drop a like, do subscribe. I think it's very early, a lot could still happen, but I'm not feeling too confident at the moment. Coventry City have got to turn things around pretty soon. I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.